couple things I'd like to show you over here in my strawberry patch. All right, in my last video, I showed you the strawberry patch where I just mowed it down a few days before that. I have been watering it, and if you look behind me, I don't know if you can tell. You might have to look at the last video side by side. Maybe I put a clip up here or not, I don't know, but it has gotten a little greener. Sun's been out. All these strawberries where I cut off the tops of them, cut off the foliage, the young ones, the runners have come up and they've grown some, and the older ones are doing better. It kind of revitalizes them the way I understand it. I just put the clippings over here to the side, but you can tell that they're growing a little bit versus the way it was the other day. But I want to show you something over here just a little closer. Over here to the east, to my right, are the strawberries, but over here closer to this side of the frame, that is the west for me, or my left, there is a row of comfrey. Do you see it? And this comfrey, if you've been following our channel long, is the comfrey that we planted just last summer. So all around these strawberries, I planted like 100 either cuttings, root cuttings, or crowns. Some of them I've moved, and some of them have taken off and done very well, but you can see this row, and it's starting to come back up. There were a bunch of weeds over here, a bunch of strawberries, and the comfrey is starting to come back up. And I'm gonna get you a closer shot here in just one second, but around it, I don't know how well you can tell from this angle, but around it, it's gotten a little brown. And that's because the comfrey, as it's coming up, is coming down and it's killing everything around it because it's blocking the sun. It's just like weed stop, weed fabric, or something like that, plastic. It's killing everything. It's letting a little bit of stuff. So you see some other things, some runners of the strawberries comes around it, but it kills everything around it. But a couple of these that must have been started from just something really small, either a crown or just a small root cutting, have grown up really large. And I want to dig them up for you and show you. This one right here is probably the largest of them, and the diameter of just the crown is probably at the widest point probably about 8, 10, 12 inches. The narrowest point maybe only 6 inches or so, but this is huge. And what we can do with this is we can take this and we can divide the crowns up into probably 10, 15 different crown plants. So these are all plants that we can start from the crowns, and then from the roots, and we're going to dig it up here in one second. The roots probably extend down 5, 10 feet down into the soil. So if I gather everything up that I can find in here that's comfrey related, then there's still going to be a lot more under there, and there's going to be something pop up. And that's what happened over here on this other side. I transplanted a lot of the comfrey over here on the east side, and some of it's come up because I tilled it, which we're trying to get to no-till eventually, but right now we're not there, and that's okay. Wherever you are at, you need to forgive yourself. You need to give yourself some grace. You don't have to farm like I do, and I don't have to farm like anybody else does. All of that's okay. Do what works for you and do what's best fit for you at this time in your life. It can change later, you can develop, you can grow, but I tilled through that, and it caused some more comfrey plants to grow over here. I didn't do this side. That's why this side's a bit healthier, because I didn't till through it. But look at how big this is. And the roots go down really deep. Probably able to get, if I wanted to, 100 cuttings from just this plant right here. Let's dig it up and see. There's actually a couple of strawberries in here as well. Look, here's a strawberry crown. I can take that and just plant it back over here where I don't see one. And right now is the great time to do this because it's cloudy right now. We're expecting a rain from Ida up here in western Kentucky. It's going to give us all sorts of rain. It's supposed to be a few inches of rain just tomorrow. It's not really supposed to hit us for a little while now, so the sun's not shining, so nothing's going to be scorched over here. And then also, if I plant these cuttings and these crowns back into the ground, then we're going to be able to have you know, nice watering in the next day. Of course, I have been watering this as well to try to give it a head start, because it's such a drastic and huge change. Mowing over this, been running the sprinklers behind it. I'm not doing it today because the sun's not shining, it's not scorching it. I did it yesterday, and it's supposed to rain tonight and all day tomorrow. Tomorrow, incidentally, we're going to go and get a different cast on Maya's wrist. So right now it's a cast that comes up here and immobilizes her, so she's been walking around like this and not been able to move her elbow. But tomorrow they're supposed to put a cast just down here on her wrist because it broke both of the bones right here in this in the wrist right here. So it had to be completely immobilized where she couldn't move it at all. So tomorrow they're just going to put one here so she can move it, and hopefully it'll be one that she can get wet so she can get in the pond and do other stuff, but she's been really missing that. So look, here's one of these cuttings right here, one of these roots. I can make a bunch of cuttings off it if I wanted to. Here's a strawberry crown. I'm trying to protect as many of my strawberries as I can because I want them to get all matted in here So if they get all matted in here, then I won't have to worry about weeds. They'll choke out all the weeds and be great ground cover. So this soil over here, you know, the farmers that we have are really great when it comes to traditional farming. They're way better than most traditional farmers. They put chicken litter on it. They try to take care of it. They've been farming it for years. They try to prevent erosion. They don't abuse the land here, but they had farmed this area here for years and years before we got here. In fact, some of my trees have died over here next to my chicken pen because that's where they used to park their truck, and it's so packed down and hard and compacted. And this, we've got so much clay here. Look at this clay. And in a few years, we're gonna have this built up, so it's not like that anymore, but right now, that's what we've got to deal with. So I'm trying to pull all this off here so we can see the root system of it. Oh, look, another strawberry. So I'm wanting to start a plant nursery here, and if I take in that strawberry there, of course I don't know what variety it is, if I take in that strawberry there and put it in a pot with some soil and let it grow out, then this spring I probably could have sold that for, you know, $2 or $3 bare minimum, maybe even more than that. That's locally. You know, right now I'm really not focusing too much on selling and all that stuff. I'm just focusing on growing and learning, and then after that, whenever I have my mother stock and all this stuff going really well, then I can grow a lot more, or I can sell a lot more. This isn't as big as a root system as I thought it would be, but I want you to keep in mind that this plant has only been here a year. So I don't know how big it was to begin with because I didn't keep track of all the plants that I put here, but this plant, this is one comfrey plant that I put here. This one right here, do you see it? I'm trying to tear any pieces off. Here, look, there's a cutting right there. I need to get a bucket. Let me go get a bucket real quick. So I can break this, this apart and make a bunch of plants out of the crowns. Now, one of the reasons this is important is if I take this and I put it, this little cutting right here, I could probably divide this in two as well, and I put it in a little pot with no other competition in it and really great healthy soil, then this would grow up into a plant lickety-split, especially if I had it like in the high tunnel or somewhere else. I could grow it through the winter time, and then I could sell this because I came across, when I was looking for some seeds to start some fall gardening, I couldn't find any at my local co-op. Clicked on another site and they were selling comfrey that looked nothing like this. This plant right here is, you know, 10, 15, 20 times that size. It was just a couple of leaves coming out. The leaves, granted, were maybe 6 inches tall, but they were selling it for $30, $37, and that was discounted. So if I could make 100 plants out of this, and if you want to try to make money, you can do the same thing. There's plenty of market out there. People seem to be buying it. They were sold out at the time at that price. Then 100 plants at $37 each, you do the math, that's about $3,700. If I did 1,000, which I've got enough to do 1,000 here, at $30, that's $30,000, right? So, I mean, that's pretty incredible. You can make some money at it, and you can do that every year because especially if you take care of them, you could sell 1,000 plants of comfrey easily. And that was with shipping included. I'm not sure about tax or anything like that, but this one cutting will do that. At those prices, if I tore off one of these crowns, look at that. This is a crown with some root that would grow really fast. Look at this crown. I plant that, it'll grow. It's got basically no root on it, and I know that will grow because earlier this year I accidentally came over here and I was doing something. I think I was moving a strawberry or doing something, and I got a piece that was smaller than that with just that much on there, and I planted it over here next to this tree, this magnolia tree that I got Rua for Mother's Day, and it's flourished. It's very large now, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes. This one's even bigger. Look at that crown. And that's not even to mention the roots, okay? This is a hori knife. I was at Walmart the other day and these were on sale. They're like $17, $18 on Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description below, but they were $10. And I've wanted one for a long time. It's a soil knife. What I really like about it is it's got measuring here, so you can see what 4 inches of depth is. This is 2 inches, 5, 6. So I can stick it in the ground and know how deep it is, and I can plant something that deep and dig that soil out, and I can measure. But it's also got a saw blade and a knife over here. And ordinarily I use clippers for this, but the clippers weren't anywhere near me, so I grabbed this instead. So here's the root. It chopped right through it. Look, look. That little piece right there will grow a nice plant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll just leave that little one by itself. 6, 7, 8, 9, and we'll leave that one big too. 10. 10 plus the 3 or 4 or 5 that I already had in here, and that was just one of the roots. And look how big this is without any more of the crowns. Here's a crown that's coming off. Look at that. That's a crown. That'll grow perfectly fine, especially if you keep it watered, don't have a whole lot of competition. The problem with some plants, if you start them to sell, is that you're stuck with plants if you don't sell them. But that's not a problem with Comfrey, because you can get larger plants and you can sell for more money, or you can plant them and you can use all of the leaves and cuttings, and you can use it and grow even more of them. So I don't have a shortage of Comfrey here on this homestead. I'm not sorry about growing the Comfrey that I'm doing. It's a really great thing. I don't regret it in the slightest. But it's about to rain here, so I need to show you one thing over here, and we'll come back to this and finish that off camera. Let me show you one more thing. So we're over here by this Jane magnolia that I got rid of for Mother's Day. It still hasn't leafed out a great deal, but it still has leaves on it. Maybe it'll flourish this winter and this next spring. Been watering it, and I put a lot of compost here in the hole and right next to it whenever I planted it. And one day I was digging over there and I got a cutting that was about this size, maybe actually smaller than this. And I thought, well, let's put it in the ground, let's see if it'll work. And it did. Here's the Comfrey. Do you see it down here, down at the bottom? It's been pecked on because I've got a mother hen that's around here. The chicks kept on getting out of the chicken coop, the compost system over here, and I just, okay, I let her go. So it's been being pecked on, and I also knocked it down. Look how large this is. All right, this was even greener and bigger and prettier before, but I knocked it down, and it started like this just a few months ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And I just put it here and I kept it watered. So if you'll get something like this, and if you want to contact me, then maybe I can help you with that. If you get something like this, just a cutting, then you can take this and it'll turn into this, and then it'll turn into that in no time, and you can just keep on propagating. So you don't have to have everything whenever you start homesteading. You can start with just a few things and build it from there, especially when it comes to a lot of perennials. In fact, that Illinois everbearing mulberry and the high tunnel, I took it down and I air layered it. I put some soil over it, so maybe it'll start another one, because it was actually down on the ground. And I thought, well, let's see if that'll work. And I did the same thing with this Pixwell gooseberry. It didn't make it because the kids come over here and monkey with things. But this is Comfrey. A lot of really great things about it, and we've got a ton of it here, and we're going to do more because we really like it here. A lot of uses for it. If you like things like this, I'm just showing you some of the same things. This is a year later from what we did in that same spot, and it's really flourished, and that was with very little maintenance. Okay, so you can do the same thing. But if you like things like this, I'm showing you what's going on, then like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, select all so you never miss a notification, and keep coming back. We'll keep doing videos for you. Some of these are just documentation for me right now, but there's going to be more and more. We're going to get better and better, and we'd love to have you follow along and see what we're doing.
Welcome to our own homestead.
Until next time, thanks.
Yeah!